All right, Trevor Dueck with MMAsucker.com with former
chairman of the Vancouver Athletic Commission.
Yeah, it's so weird to say that. Mirko Mladenovic. Okay, well, explain what happened, because one moment you're battling with the city council about bringing the UFC here, and then today, the unfortunate news that you've been dismissed.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. It's been a long time battle that's been going on, and I think that they're upset that I managed to outwit them a number of times, and I think that they came to the realization that we better get rid of this guy, otherwise he's going to be
a problem.
Yeah, he's going to be a problem for us. He's going to be keep embarrassing us. So but I'm not completely disappointed. It's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward, because they're apparently replacing me with one of the chief licensing officers best buddies. So it's going to be an interesting experiment to see what's going on over there. So
it just seems like it's been a one and done thing. The UFC comes in, and is that it?
It might be it. It probably be it. I think that a lot of people want it to be over. I think that when I was sitting before council just the other day, pleading my case, that I think I saw a lot of vacant or even angry faces, and I think that it's really going to be difficult to when you're a promoter and you're going into in front of the commission to try to start something up. You want an event. Well, how much is the insurance going to be? Well, you don't know, because the city got put into our conditions and procedures that the city manager can demand whatever kind of insurance they want, right? And they can change the rules on you at any time.
Wow.
So if you're a promoter and you want to know, well, what's the insurance going to be? You don't know. What the seat tax, maybe licenses are a little bit iffy right now. They weren't able to license a number of people, referees and judges and so forth for the UFC event, because they took away our fee schedule. They locked it into the bylaw. There's also a clerical error in the fee schedule, so there's a lot of problems in that way. Will anybody be able to have an event? It's difficult to know. We'll have to see in the upcoming 2 or 3 months. Really, the bottom line here is the municipal model, in my opinion, from working in it for 3 years, it doesn't work.
No.
Okay. It's because it's we're volunteers, and it's sort of an amateur sports model for professional sports events. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
And what we need is and everybody agreed. The council agreed, and mayors, and all the commissioners. We want a provincial commission, and it's just a matter of trying to first of all put that on the table in September at the British Columbia Municipalities Convention up in Whistler. It's something that we've talked to Zufa about, and they want to help us with, and Tom and Zufa Canada.
Right. Yeah, like does you find that this Vancouver City Council is just sort of washing their hands of it? They don't really want anything.
They definitely, certainly try to slow down the UFC event long enough so that they, instead of just saying no, we don't want your event here, or we won't allow your event to happen, the time would have passed whereby we wouldn't have been able to sanction the event, or they wouldn't have been able to schedule the event, right? So that's when back in March, at a meeting that we had, we asked the licensing manager how the negotiations were going, because we weren't privy to any of the negotiations. We weren't allowed to deal with it.
Wow.
So and he said, very smugly, "Oh, I think we'll know very soon." And I knew right away, oh, they want to kill this event, right? And I spoke to Mark Ragnar the next day, and he said, Mirko, it looks really bad. It looks like this event's not going to happen. I said, you know what, Mark? I'm going to improve your event. And that's what I did. I went in there, and Tom Hamill, he took a night off, and I went in there and I approved the event. And what that did was tie the city's hands, right? Because legally they have now an obligation to go forward with this event, right? Because I've approved it.
Yeah.
So, and then later on, of course, they had me rescind the event, right? Because they said, well, the bylaw wasn't changed at that time. Well, council voted in favor of allowing MMA back, or pancreation back in December, right? Well, they could have changed the bylaw at any time, but they waited till late April.
Yeah.
So, but the UFC, the deal for UFC 115, boy, down to the last minute with the trying to deal with the insurance and a bunch of other matters. I mean, it came down right to the end, and it was every day the city came up with some kind of new condition, right? Every single day, and every time I'd pick up the phone, I'd speak to somebody at UFC. They said, "Oh, there's something new that the city wants us to do." So,
what I can't get my head around it. Just final question: why can't they make this big grandiose announcement, 2-year trial for professional MMA? We're going to give it a shot. We're going to get the UFC here, and then they try to kill it. Well, what was it? What's their thinking behind that, really?
Well, you see, the thing is, they got a lot of bad press when there was the first report that came back, and they had the economic impact report.
Yeah. And
they had the liability report came first.
Yeah.
They had that back last March, and then they had economic impact, which was really a second liability report. But they got a lot of bad press about it, and so this time they thought, oh, we're going to be smart about this, and we're going to make it look like you can have these events, but not really, right? And that's kind of the way it is, right now, right? Well, the UFC, they had or Zuffa had, they've got all these just incredible lawyers, right? So, and they've got a lot of money, and they paid a lot of insurance. But they were able to push forward their event, right? So that the city, they took away all the excuses, right? But when I pick up the phone with Strikeforce or somebody else, they say we can't do anything. Yeah. So
it looks kind of bleak, I think from my point of view of it happening, I think it may be a few years. Do you not think before the next big professional event comes, unless maybe it's the UFC who can afford to do that?
The biggest problem for the commission in Vancouver is they're under the advisory bodies. Well, who does the commission advise? They advise nobody, right? The only 2 times we ever advised the city council about anything in 65 years was we advise you to allow pancreation events, and we suggest that you do not raise the seat tax for pro wrestling to $1, that you keep it at 30 cents, right? They rejected both of those pieces of advice, you know? So here we have professional wrestling. It's the highest seat tax in the world at $1. Everybody else is 30 cents or under, right? For the, what kind of sanctioning do you give to professional wrestling? There's no, we don't put the referees in there, you don't put the judges in there. We got to have kind of a minimum sanctioning. Yeah. So we were working on Vancouver was in the running for WrestleMania. Right. And so then, just after the negotiations for that had started, they raised the seat tax to $1, and all of a sudden, you'll never see professional wrestling, large-scale professional wrestling in Vancouver ever again, right? So what did they do? City council, they took away an event that's made for 5-year-old children. Yeah, absolutely. An event that's been here before as well. It's the majority of the history of the Vancouver Athletic Commission is with professional wrestling, right? And for example, Gene Kiniski, who just passed away recently, was the most fined man in the Vancouver Athletic Commission history. Yeah. So there's a lot of funny stories about that, but long relationship with professional wrestling that could be ending, very soon.
Well, City Council calls you combative They find that you're you're in their face, and to me, it looks like you outsmarted them.
Yeah, this is the thing. They have all these lawyers, and they called me into meetings with the executive city manager and the city manager, and they had their secretaries there, and they had their lawyers there, and they were asking me a whole bunch of questions. Isn't it true, that kind of questions, and they're taking notes, right?
Yeah.
So they're building a case against me, right? Well, I mean, I could build a case against them if I had a bunch of lawyers and everything, but I mean, certainly they were as combative with me as I was with them. They sort of, if it's a game, if you take your ball and you go home, you've given up, right?
Yeah.
They took me off the board. It's like cheating, right? Okay, so they made it a little bit easier for themselves. Well, we'll see.
Mirko, I appreciate your time, man.
Great.
And good luck to you. And we'll see what happens in the next couple of years.
MMA Sucka is the best website for MMA.